Welcome to the Dr. Lori Mars podcast, where she interviews experts in health and science, sharing their expertise so you can live your healthiest life. This episode of the podcast is proudly sponsored by Fit Vegan Coaching, the world's leading whole food, plant-based body recomposition program for Gen X and baby boomers. Founded by Maxime, whose personal journey began after losing his ex-fiancée to breast cancer, Fit Vegan Coaching is on a mission to disease-proof the world through the transformative power of plant-based eating and fitness. This program is the Rolls-Royce of plant-based coaching, offering all-inclusive services, personalized plans, world-class accountability, lifelong support, and more. Say goodbye to the yo-yo dieting and embrace a lasting transformation that will rev up your metabolism even post-transformation. Ready to take charge of your health and vitality? Head over to fitvegan.ca, that's fitvegan.ca, and mention Dr. Lori for exclusive bonus savings when you sign up. Don't miss this opportunity to join the movement towards a healthier, fitter, and more vibrant you. This episode of the podcast is proudly sponsored by The Healing Kitchen, your path to vibrant health. Immerse yourself in the transformative program, guided by the combined expertise of myself, Dr. Lori Marbus, and Chef Brittany Giroudi, who has lost 70 pounds on a whole food plant-based diet. Here's what's in store for you. Virtual weekly sessions. Engage in an immersive 60-minute virtual session every single week, where you'll delve into the world of wholesome plant-based goodness right from your own kitchen. Cooking with Brittany the first half hour. Unleash your inner chef as you're captivated by Chef Brittany Giroudi's culinary mastery that will delight your taste buds and nourish your body. Medical Q&A with Dr. Lori the last half hour. Prioritize your well-being during the second half hour. I will personally address your medical inquiries, providing evidence-based insights and personalized advice, empowering you to make informed choices for your health. So join us on the Healing Kitchen to help you step into a healthier and most vibrant future. Welcome to the podcast. I'm Dr. Lori Marbus, and today I'm welcoming back an old and dear friend, Katie Reines. How are you today?
Woohoo! Oh, I'm so grateful and excited and warm.
Warm in your home, not outside.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
a little chilly up there in Colorado. Yeah.
Yeah, it's freezing out. But it's
Uh,
interesting the benefits of cold exposure as well. Like I've been getting outside trying to get exposed to the sunlight when the sun comes up to help with my sleep and my melatonin and everything. And yeah, when it's -2 degrees out, going for a walk outside, it definitely wakes me up. It's better than coffee, I'll tell you that. It's good.
uh, yes, I've been through. I'll never forget the first time I moved to Rifle, and it was like -12 out, and that was without, the wind chill. And I was like, oh heavens, it hurts to breathe. Oh
Yeah.
my God. And now I've been coming from Virginia. That was our first winter in Colorado. I was like, oh my goodness. So, well, let's get started here. Can we talk a little bit about your story and like how you found the plant-based world, and that can maybe lead to your occupation as being a registered dietitian?
There are so many different aspects of my story that piled together that really led to where I am today. It's never just one thing, right? People get a taste of it here and a taste of it there, and finally it's like, oh, it all comes together. So for me, it was actually my sister watching the Avatar movie with the blue people. And she, for environmental reasons, wanted to be more connected to the earth and went vegetarian. And our favorite movie growing up was Clueless. Have you seen Clueless with Alicia Silverstone?
Yes.
The best. It's like our favorite chick flick. And of course, Alicia Silverstone happens to be this incredible plant-based advocate and had one
Hmm.
of the earliest cookbooks out, The Kind Diet. And purchasing this for my sister here, I said over and over I could never go vegan. I love me some grilled cheese. I love ice cream. I was working at an ice cream store at the time, and I was eating a lot of ice cream. Like this is me in high school, like, oh, I hope that, there's mistakes so that I can eat the mistakes working at an ice cream store. But it said at the very beginning of this cookbook that I purchased my sister, Alicia Silverstone said, "What if I told you that if you chose non-dairy ice cream instead of dairy ice cream, you would be reversing global warming, reversing your acne, improving your, like, literally every chronic disease." She went over all of these things that you're going to benefit if you choose non-dairy instead of dairy. And I knew the universe was speaking to me when it was the first page in her book, and I was working at an ice cream store. And that was before, it took me a long time. I think that was March 2010. And finally in 2011, I was also working at a yoga studio and reading about mindfulness around eating and how that has to do with just your yoga practice, being mindful in general. Where is this food coming from? Is this food healthy for me? So every time I would eat my ice cream, I would eat whatever, cheese, meat. It slowly just the universe kept knocking on my door, being like, "Hello, are you gonna make this switch here?" And finally, as a New Year's resolution, January 1st, 2011, I pledged on PETA.com. I did this like 21-day challenge to go vegan. And I was very convinced that I was going to be miserable. I was going to eat dirt and grass for 21 days. I was like really concerned. And my mom looked up vegetarian restaurants in the Boston area, and it just turns out that this tiny little macrobiotic organic cafe was in the town over. And that same day, January 1st, 2011, I went there and I had the most divine meal. Had never heard of quinoa or kale before. And I had a quinoa kale bowl. Like, can you remember when quinoa and kale were not popular at all? Like this was a time in both of our lives where it's like, wait, what is kale? Now it's like so trendy. But um yeah, I had the most divine meal, and I said to them right there, I said, okay, I need to work here. I want to meet the people that come here. I want to meet the people that work here. I want to learn how to cook like this. And I quit my job at the ice cream store. And of course, people that came to that restaurant starting to work there, they would say every day, "Oh my gosh, I used to have cancer and now I come here and I take my wheatgrass shots," or "Oh my gosh, I used to have diabetes," and all of this stuff. And that inspired me to study nutrition in college. And of course, going to college, they were saying 3 cups of milk every day. Make sure to have a cup of milk with every meal. Does anybody think that they eat a half a cup of beans and eat like, and I felt so alone, so frustrated and alone throughout college. I was like, wait, what do you mean people are not eating any beans? Like, I eat lots of beans. Like, what? Like, it was crazy feeling like, oh, that's a whole nother story. But on top of, I'm almost done. I feel like this is quite the
Yeah, keep going, keep going.
monologue. On top of me being inspired by my sister and the environmental impact and Alicia Silverstone and working at this restaurant, there was also an insecurity component that I was working on. I really did feel like if I could be skinnier, if I could be eating less, I was more beautiful. I was doing whatever I can to be, as I thought skinnier and eating less equated to healthier when I was in high school. And I was trying to eat as little as possible, really. I was trying to just be, I thought it was healthy. And I lost my menstrual cycle thinking, and yeah, I was prescribed birth control. Nobody ever diagnosed me with an eating disorder, anything like that. It was just like, oh, Katie's small. Like, that's just how she is. She's just not getting her menstrual cycle anymore. Meanwhile, I was really insecure. And I definitely had to do with undereating and overexercising and like my attempt to do what the magazines were telling me to do, have your 1,200 calorie day and make sure to burn this many calories every day and all of this stuff. So um, I really, with my company that I started a few years ago, it's rooted in self-love. It's rooted in empowerment. Whether people are trying to lose weight and get off of their medications, or they're suffering from, yeah, not having a menstrual cycle, disordered eating tendencies, maybe binging, maybe purging, maybe not, anorexia. Either way, I think both camps could use some support around feeling they have the mindset tools to really, really feel confident without relying on external circumstances. So that's been really, really fun. And yeah, I definitely, especially throughout my time in college, I was not about to just work for any random dietitian job. Like I'm not just going to be in the hospital working with other I don't want to say outdated. I just am very inspired by more innovative approaches to use plant-based nutrition to help reverse disease rather than what I was taught in school. Oh yeah, this can be managed with this. No, no, no. I'm like, hello, these things can be reversed. I grew up working at this place where people were coming into this better than a hospital cafe
Mm.
to get the medicine. So I'm really, really blessed that I have quite the perspective of innovation and hope that a lot of people just maybe aren't aware of that is
Mm.
possible with the plant-based diet. So I'm so grateful for you. I'm so grateful for the resources that you provide, helping people see that it is possible. It really, really is possible to get to the root cause and heal things rather than, yeah, just simply manage and stack more medications as time goes on. It doesn't have to be that way.
No, it doesn't. And can I ask a more personal question as to what do you think the trigger was in your own life to feel so insecure that you started, trying to manipulate? What was that external pressure? I'm just so curious about that.
Oh, totally. So back in high school, uh my high school boyfriend, I felt like he was a year older than me. He was really popular. He had a lot of really beautiful friends, and I compared myself to other women. I was like, oh my gosh, my boobs aren't big enough, my butt's not big enough. Like, I'm not, I would really compare myself to other women, and I so badly wanted to prove myself to myself that I was good enough for him.
Mm.
It felt like if I wasn't, I wanted to be an Abercrombie model. I was like, if I'm gonna be good enough to date like a popular football player, I need to be an Abercrombie model. Like,
Oh.
I need to be a model. Like, I really want to be. It wasn't ingrained in my heart that I was intrinsically good enough for him. Like, I felt like if I could take a good photo, if I could like be skinny enough, if I could look good in a bathing suit, then he could show me off to his friends and be like, oh my gosh, like I'm dating this chick.
Mm.
Um, so it really came from, yeah, this comparison. And also I will say it's interesting, I've never been asked this before, but like thinking about it, um, I wasn't exactly like monkey see, monkey do. I have memories of my mom looking in the mirror and just kind of beating herself up, not allowing, she would be like, oh, yoga pants are not for me, like,
Mm.
and I was very much praised for my smallness. And
Mm.
it was very important, whether it was like visiting my grandma, like visiting whoever. Um, the first thing was, wow, you look good. You look so good. It felt like looks were very important. Looks made me worthy. My looks made me special. Like I felt like that specialness, especially going through puberty. I'm kind of younger. My birthday's in October. I hit puberty when I was later. Like I didn't get my period till I was like 14. And I didn't want to lose my smallness. I
Mm.
was the small, cute one. I was like, if I'm not a 00 pant size, then I'm losing my specialness. Like, I really
Wow.
wanted to hold on to that so badly. I did not want to
Mm.
be bigger than a 00. No way.
Oh my heavens. Well, you're when in October is because mine's the 28th. I think we've
I'm
we've
October 3rd.
awesome. Okay, perfect.
That's
That's
fun.
and I was almost 16 before I got my period. I was like
Really?
3 months before my 16th birthday. I'll never forget that. That was
Wow.
quite a shock. So curious, so I'm, just filling the story how we met was in Florida, and you
Mhm.
came to work with me as we were running Dr. Furman's Health Oasis, which was only open for like 6 or 7 months, and all the crazy chaos that occurred after that. But That was a great time for us to spend a few weeks together, and we really got to hone in on some things. We had a lot of fun. And so I think, that was that's been almost 7 years now.
That's crazy. Wow.
That was some
Wow.
crazy times. Yes.
Yeah.
So anyway, so tell us, so you're doing registered dietitian. What is your approach with someone who comes to work with you? And name of your company?
Yeah, my company is called Feed Your Power. So not only are we, of course, making sure you're fundamentally optimized with nutrition foundations, making sure everybody, I know it's winter here, get your vitamin D, like making sure you're optimized there, having balanced meals. But really, with an even more important foundation, the foundation of self-love, the foundation of empowerment, the foundation of that relationship with these action steps that you're taking, the relationship that you have with yourself, the relationship that you have with food, we're feeding that, right?
Mm.
So my program, there's 3 tiers to it, the Feed Your Power program, the Becoming an Empowered Eater online course. And we start off with really, really diving into your relationship with yourself and having practices, having tools, having this, because it's not something that when we all like to have on the to-do list, like, oh, I loved myself today. Like, yep, got that done. Like I ate my broccoli, I did the workout, but these opportunities to practice self-love, these opportunities to witness, oh my gosh, my inner voice is beating me up right now. A lot of people, that's like the water that they're swimming in, and they don't even see it. We're not even aware. So getting an opportunity to have somebody to hold you accountable for really having a voice of acknowledgement, a voice of pride, a voice of, oh my gosh, it's okay, especially as women. I think that sometimes, at least I was growing up, you're either too polite or too quiet or you're too much or you're too there's all of these voices. So I'm like going off about the first foundation, but yeah, this is a really, really big piece, is the mindset piece of Feed Your Power. And then of course the nutrition tier. But then lastly, I was living in an organic farm for a couple of years. It's so, so, so important, the environmental aspect of what we're choosing to eat. I came across yesterday, apparently a regeneratively grown carrot is like 200 times more nutritionally dense than a conventionally grown carrot. Like and it makes sense to me because if you compare the minerals, if you compare what's actually available in the soil for these plants to grow, how are we really going to feed the world with heavily sprayed? It's just, oh, so doing what we can to support. I know that this is not at this time, it's not available to everyone. Like we're very privileged if you can afford and choose organic, but from an environmental standpoint, reducing our intake of meat, reducing our intake of certain things, and being more mindful of what we're choosing, not only for our own health, but for the health of the planet. I educate about that as well. How can we take this from a sustainability standpoint for ourselves? Not only are we reversing destruction of the environment, but we're also reversing our biological age. Yeah, so working with Dr. Longo as well, part-time at his Create Cures Foundation, I've learned a lot about, oh my gosh, reversing your biological age. It also happens to reverse cancer and every chronic disease. So being able to track that and see, okay, we really, really can, as women later in life, confidently have healthy babies when we're doing this. It's so, so, so fun. So yeah, that's Feed Your Power. And yeah, I would love, if anybody is curious about that, I would love to support anybody out there. And of course, with the Create Cures Foundation, people really struggling with a terminal cancer diagnosis, these like really scary diagnoses. I help people with their treatment in combination with treatment, different fasting protocols. And usually this involves the fasting mimicking diet approach, which is really, really amazing. It's been shown to be even better than a water fast because when you're water fasting, you could be depleting your healthy gut microbes, right? So you might actually be And when it comes to like nutrient deficiencies and losing muscle, whereas with the fasting mimicking diet, it does come with supplements and you are eating some food and of course getting in some fiber to get into that fasted state while still preventing deficiencies, holding on to your muscle and holding on to your gut bacteria. And it's been amazing to get to see the results working with people with that.
Cool.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about, so you speak to the foundation of your company and this first tier of mindfulness and self-empowerment. What are some of the exercises that you tell women to do in order to understand that? Because it's intellectually, it makes sense, but to actually have someone understand how to actually do that and comprehend it is a whole nother level. So what is your work towards?
Yeah. Well, one very basic like thing that everyone can do right now is just practicing that awareness. So there's a lot of different apps for this actually. You don't even need to download an app, but I like the app called High Future Self. It's like a free, silly kind of app. And just having a timer go off every hour
Mm,
with whatever mantra lands well with you, that's like, I am beautiful no matter what, or like whatever affirmation you feel like you're needing or that feels good. Um, and I'll talk with my clients about this. Like, okay, what it because they will always come to me with a belief, and we reframe that belief of like, I don't know, what's an example? Like I need to lose this amount of weight to go to the beach or something like that and creating a reality that, hey, that's not the truth. That is absolutely not the truth. A lot of people feel beautiful in their own skin and they weigh whatever, like relying on these external circumstances before you can feel confident, that's over. We're done with that, you know?
mhm,
What really
mhm,
needs to change for you to be able to feel confident right now and coming to the realization like, oh, it's my own awareness, it's my own focus, it's my own belief. So reframing that belief, like I can go to the beach and be sexy and empowered right now. Maybe that would be the thing that they're reminded of every hour. And
mm,
this can easily be, and I recommend that they have this set up with an app or something because it can be so easy to get off the call with me and just instantly have that voice get so loud, right? That voice that they've turned up the volume to for years. Of course, it's going to take some accountability, some reminding, and I like to use the analogy of brushing your teeth. Like, of course, we brush our teeth, right? It's just something that we do. It's something that we do to take care of ourselves. It's not anything, it's like, oh no, I need to brush my teeth. What am I going to do? Like, people relate that to going to the gym. It's like, oh no.
mhm,
Um, so when we were younger, though, I think we must have had, hopefully, a good caretaker that was able to say, brush your teeth, brush your teeth. Did you brush your teeth? Like holding us accountable. And that's kind of like what I do and what an app like this can do. It's like, hey, where's your mindset at? Where's your mindset at? Where's your mindset at? And eventually it becomes a no-brainer. Eventually it becomes like, wait, I don't have to uh flex this self-love anymore. Like it actually becomes something that um it happens naturally because they're really aware of it and then they're able to like fully grasp it and try it on with that sort of reminder. Um, and there's a lot of other things too that I could recommend, but I think that's a really easy one that if people are really struggling with their relationship with themselves, having that awareness and being reminded, hey, come back is really, really helpful for a lot of people.
yeah, I'd say there's two things there that really hit home. Is there's a book called What to Say When You Talk to Yourself by Dr. Shad Helmstetter. And so
Mhm.
basically, what you're speaking to is changing the dialogue or changing the script that you allow yourself to hear. And so he does some really interesting research. He has an app called Self Plus Talk or Self Talk Plus. And
Nice.
his research, he goes way back. When he started out, he's a linguist, basically, was his original research. And he started playing well, he started thinking his concept was, just like the language that we're speaking, English here. is culturally derived and taught, right? So is the language of how we speak, that voice, that chitter chatter that goes on in our lives. And what was interesting, he's like, this is a program and you can change the program. That's kind of what you're referring to. But he made some recordings of himself talking to himself because he said he needed to lose about 50 pounds. And he was just like, let me change what I'm listening to. So it was like, I am healthy. I feed myself nutritious things. They're I am statements, right? And he played them in the background just while he was in the morning, like 10 minutes, shaving and stuff like that. And he said over 10 weeks, he lost like 58 pounds and did
Wow.
nothing else. So he
Yeah.
started making obviously different choices because you're not just going to magically lose 58 pounds. But what was interesting, his wife, who also, is like getting ready in the morning, she was listening to it as well. She lost 25 pounds. So I call that positive collateral damage, right? So that's the other thing. The other piece I think is really powerful is the powerful awareness moment, right? So kind of like The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle really speaks to when you really want to shut off the chatter, like you said, someone jumps off the phone with you, the volume's turned up high, just coming into the awareness of the moment. And that's kind of what you're telling them, right? Is you're aware of the chatter, that it's not them, right? It's the ego speaking, but stepping back and being aware. You could be aware of brushing your teeth, right? You could be aware anytime you want in these mindful moments that takes you out of the chatter. Because once you can't, that chatter can't progress if you're being aware and mindful in your current moment. So that's really powerful. So that's great.
Gosh, yeah. And there's actually a step before this. Like there's a lot of tools that I provide my clients.
Yeah.
But the initial, like the free initial consultation, I always ensure that we're really, really crystal clear on the vision, on the goals. So I like to play this game of, all right, let's pretend it's been a year and all your health goals are accomplished, right? And we play this game and it helps to prevent the because if you're thinking about the future as if it hasn't happened yet, often we have this part of our brain that can easily say, oh, that's not possible, or like, oh, that, that. But if we pretend like we're already there, like really, really, really pretend like we're already there, how does that feel? Like
Mhm.
and then I'm like, how did you do that? How did you? And they're like, oh, well, I've been going to yoga and and then they're able to really paint this picture. And sometimes they're not actually. Sometimes people are really, really in a dark place and it's really hard for them to create and be creative and and that's what I'm here for, right?
Mhm.
But without this clear vision, just like you were saying, it's gonna be um almost impossible, right? To think that self-hate and just uh really, really being so aware of the negatives and what we're trying to stop, like that's gonna be hard to get to a new place when
Mhm.
you're so uh in the depths of what's happening in the moment,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
Um,
Well,
so
they're allowing their chatter, their their beliefs to drown them, right? So that's
Mhm.
not even being mindful. It's just being overwhelmed by emotions and worries and stuff. So what you're allowing them to do is create a new future self so that they can speak to it just like it was another person and reflect.
Totally. And what you're touching on is so important. I feel like wow, this is bringing up a lot of just my journey. Like I've come so far and it's crazy. If I can do this, if I can feel confident in my skin, like I really think anyone can and I'm so excited. But anyways, this voice in our head that we're talking about, right? Reframing these beliefs. I love that you touched on how important the awareness piece is because it's not exactly about being in control of our thoughts and always being in this, like, I'm so positive, I'm so beautiful, like all the time. Of course not. We're here to practice being aware and really giving all of those thoughts a hug. Even the thoughts that are like, oh, I hate that I'm thinking this, like, oh, well, taking all of those layers and just being aware of them and being like, wow, I see all those layers there. I see that. I see you. I love the story of like how the Buddha became Buddha. It's like, hello, doubt. Come in, have tea with me. Just being aware that you're even feeling doubt. that you're that in itself, it's like, oh, doubt, that's what you are. Hi.
But do
Come
you
in.
see how you're speaking to, so there's the thoughts, which are not you. You are
Mhm.
the one are watching, you're the one aware, you're the one that's seeing as you step back from the feelings and the thoughts. That is the true being of you. And I think that's the beautiful thing, is that once you travel this journey yourself, you start seeing other people that way, right? That there's
Yeah.
something, there's a being like Katie's being behind your beautiful eyes and your hair and your skin, internal, that you and I are connected. And together in this moment, we're having a great conversation. And that's the joy of once you find and ground yourself, that awareness that you are so much more than these crazy thoughts that are running around, because you're not those thoughts. You are the
Mhm.
being watching the thoughts. And so that's really powerful. That's good.
Yeah.
So, when you mentioned the relationship to food, what are your most common things that you're seeing with young women, especially in this relationship with food? Like, how are these things starting? So, maybe someone who, mentioned you want to help people who have babies, like, what are those things in childhood that maybe a parent can help, or young women listening to this, maybe they'll help them, it's like have an aha moment about understanding relationships with food.
Yeah. Oh man. So this comes first of all starting with our own visualization. And a journal prompt I really love doing with my clients. If you had a daughter someday, what would you hope that they feel when they look at a plate of cookies? You know, what would you hope that they feel going into a party, going into the holidays, going into trying on a new shirt at the store? How would you hope your daughter feels in these moments?
Mm,
And getting really crystal clear on that, getting really crystal clear on that vision, because once we're really clear on that, then we can start being the role model,
mm,
being able to love ourselves that much, like we would love our daughters.
mm,
Yeah. And that helps a lot because, hey, if you, um, yeah, if you were like really looking at a plate of cookies, beating yourself up, like, oh no, I shouldn't be eating these, or putting, just like you said, right? We put these things on a pedestal. We talked about this last time. Everyone listened to my interview with Dr. Marvis. We talked about this. Um, this cognitive dietary restraint, how it can actually be a lot more harmful and unhealthy mentally. And just as time goes on, probably going to want to binge on those cookies if you keep um, putting them on such a pedestal. So, yeah, number one, really get clear on what it looks like for someone you love, someone that you care for so much, whether it be envisioning a daughter or a best friend. How do you hope that they feel around food? And then doing our best to model that, as I mentioned at the beginning of this, how I wonder if I would be different with my relationship with myself and with food. Yeah, if my role models were really embodied, like
mm,
really just like loving their bodies, like loving themselves no matter what, no matter how bloated, no matter what they ate. If that really wasn't a thing that was talked about growing up, I feel like my life would be different. And I'm excited to help create a new paradigm where moms are just loving themselves and
mhm,
showing their kiddos like what that looks like, and that's okay.
mhm. No, that's powerful messaging, is modeling, right? Because kids are definitely watching, more than they're listening. It's just the way it goes. And so I think you're very serious. That's a very good point. So how do we look at food? So for example, like you mentioned, a cookie, and suddenly there's a host of emotions, right? Some people, like you mentioned, might feel guilty, they might feel stressed, they might feel like, oh, I really want it because it's a craving, I deserve it, right? So, speaking to foods, and I think it really helps. I used to always hear people were much further along the awareness path than I ever was at that point anyway, and say there's no bad or good foods. And I appreciate what that they mean by that now, by this judgment piece, versus when you kind of aware of who you are and what you want for yourself as a human, you will just naturally, I think, drift towards healthier foods because you want healthier foods in the sense that they, decrease risk
Right.
for chronic disease and things. And these will and now violence and thinking about the environment and all these things, because you become more aware of everything. It's not just yourself in this practice, you become aware of everything that you're involved with every day. And
Mm-hmm.
when you start that with someone, how do you help? What is that first bit to understand? How do they break this bond with this whatever it is?
Totally. So with each client is so different. Sometimes it does look like doing some inner child work, like really dredging up some beliefs that are really ingrained, that are not necessarily the truth. Like, is this belief really empowering? Having them realize that these actions, these fears are actually not something that were chosen from an empowered place. These are actually indoctrinated from, whether it be advertising or whatever, these beliefs that they're created that is allowing them to live in stress around these foods. Um, but something that I actually, yeah, I help people live in alignment with their values
Mm,
and getting really clear on what those values are. And I love people, like some people, oh my gosh, I value trying new foods and experiencing new foods. And I value connection with my family and I value enjoying my grandma's cookies. Like that's amazing, fantastic. I love that for you. I think that's so healthy and fantastic. And thinking about, oh my gosh, I really value my health and my blood sugar levels. It's like, okay, so we get really, really crystal clear on you living in alignment with your values.
mm,
Which in each moment, what value are you going to take a stand for? Are you feeling like you really want to be committed to from a
mm,
place of true choice and freedom and empowerment? No value is better or worse, right? It's like really about your life. So, yeah, I think it totally is possible as well to value your health, of course, and value trying new foods and things. And then going into these different opportunities of trying new foods, it's beautiful to get to have this awareness with ourselves. Okay, what feels most empowering for me right now? What feels most loving for me?
mm,
And instead of choosing because blah blah blah, because of this, because of that, it's like, oh, I choose because I choose.
mhm.
It's
There's
really,
wisdom. There's wisdom in using values, but in the heat, like you're describing, the heat of the moment of the decision, turning inward and saying, let your heart speak to you as to, plus you're taking that mindful piece. You're not letting these overwhelming cravings, or like you're stepping back and going, in my current state, where's my heart telling me? What my mind might be telling me one thing, the crazy thoughts, but what does your heart tell you, right? And so that's great because that brings you back to your center, to your values. That's very powerful for people.
yeah, I really hope that made sense and that lands for people that it's, yeah, you're making a beautiful, empowered choice. And this can be like, whoa, what do you mean? Especially my people trying to get off diabetes medications, really trying to, they're like, what do you mean I can eat an ice cream cone? I'm like, yeah, there's going to be some consequences, probably, with your blood sugar eating that ice cream cone. And if
Mhm,
it's really important to you, like going on that date and enjoying that ice cream cone, like you do that, you make that choice, of
mhm,
course. And
mhm,
often they'll say like, yeah, I had a couple of licks and I threw it out. Like I
mhm,
got my value, like I from a real place of like I can and I don't want to, or they do, or they don't. They don't even have the ice cream cone. Like it's really interesting once you have the freedom to choose and feel excited about that, what that looks like, rather than being a victim to like, oh, I have to do this or I'm not allowed to do that. It's like, wait, wait, wait. You actually are fully allowed to do whatever you want at all
yeah,
times.
absolutely. And then don't feel guilty because you're trying to live to a specific perfection dogma. Reminds me of when you're raising kiddos and people go, well, how do I transition everyone to a plant-based? So I was like, well, at home you're plant-based, but when they go out, you allow them choice. And guess
Mm.
what? They're going to learn the consequences. Their tummy's going to be upset. They're not going to feel well. And before you know it, they start making different and healthier choices because you've given them space to live a life and, function and do their things in society. So that's been great. I think, are we running out of time or you need to go? Because I think we hit our time zone.
Okay. I mean, I do have
You
a
have
call
time?
in like 12 minutes, but yeah,
Okay.
I
Okay.
could sit down for another 10 minutes. Yeah.
All right. Because I was like, oh, I think she's so thanks everyone for listening to that. But well, let's try to you bring it into, the home stretch here. Tell me what is your most valuable thing that you would like everyone to get from this message today? Like what is your heart of hopes, that you'd like
I
to say?
so hope that people can look in the mirror and be like, oh my God, I'm amazing. I love myself. Without needing anything outside of them to change, this is something that is so healing. I don't think
Mm.
I mentioned that I actually got my period the same day I had my first kiss.
Mm.
And when I became jealous and insecure, I lost my period. Love is the absolute foundation of health
Mm.
for me, and I think for everybody. I think that this voice, it might be small, it might be you maybe you're not aware of it, but any opportunity to turn up the volume to pride, to acknowledging ourselves. It's really, really easy, especially in society. We glorify productivity and we glorify being busy, which fantastic. I love it. Being empowered, getting these things done that we're excited about, amazing. And let yourself rest, let yourself truly have fun. Let your pleasure be prioritized. Let your peace be so prioritized because you don't have to do anything to deserve that rest, to deserve that peace. Oh,
Hmm.
yeah, I
Yeah,
really
it's
hope
just
you can.
that's a fantastic thing. It's a kind of a yin and yang of life, right? So you're busy, but you have to also be willing to receive rest and relaxation because that empowers you and gives you energy to do next. It's the ups and downs in life. Things will come and things will go. It's just the way it is.
Yeah.
You can't always
And
be in the
I'm
up.
here preaching this because I need to hear it the most. Like it's interesting, these experts, these people who yeah, we teach what we need to learn the most, I
Mm.
think. Like I really created this because I needed this. I wish I had this for myself when I was younger. So
Ah, that's
yeah.
great.
Mm.
Well, thank you, Katie, so much for being with us and sharing. I'm excited for everyone to take part in whatever you're offering in your services. So I think they have it's a safe place to grow and experiment and have someone holding their hand and accountable, as you're mentioning. So thank you.
Oh my gosh, I'm so grateful for you. Oh man, you are such an angel in so many ways. Yeah, thank you for being so amazing. It's an honor to get to be here speaking with you. And I hope people really did get some empowerment out of this and feel really, really excited going forward.
Awesome. Awesome. See all the links below, everyone. Thanks for listening.